Well, it's great to see a packed room here today. Thank you for being here. I'm Tim Walker, the Executive Director of the Metro Historical Commission, and I'd like to welcome you to our 37th Annual Preservation Awards program. We're excited to share this year's program with the Tennessee Preservation Trust, whose annual conference is here in Nashville through Saturday of this week. We're also honored to be a co-sponsor of the conference, whose theme is livable and sustainable. And if you're not registered for the conference, you're missing a great opportunity to learn not only about Civil War preservation and the diverse range of preservation tools used throughout our state, but also about historic preservation's many ties to the Green Movement. So I hope you'll look over the conference offerings and consider attending one of tomorrow's sessions. It's really a great conference. Well, before we begin, I'd like to recognize those who have made today's event possible. And if the Metro Historical Commissioners and Metro Historic Zoning Commissioners that are here with us today would please stand. Thank you. Our two commissioners volunteered their time to provide guidance and support to our staff, and we thank them for their service. We also want to recognize the board members of the Tennessee Preservation Trust and Historic Nashville. If you'd please stand. TPT and HNI are statewide and local nonprofits for historic preservation, and they're hosting the reception that will follow the award, so we really want to thank them for that. And finally, I want to thank Tennessee State Museum and its director, Lois Ezell Riggins, and her staff. Mrs. Ezell Riggins, are you here? Well, we want to thank her. They really made it really nice for us having the event here. It's the first time we've had the event in this space, and it really is special, so we thank them for making it available. I'll now hand the podium over to Dr. Bill McKee. Dr. McKee is the chair of the Metro Historical Commission and professor of education and public service management at Cumberland University. Dr. McKee.
Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Mayor Dean. Mayor Dean is the 60th mayor of the city of Nashville and the 6th mayor of the metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County. He is a very focused leader. In his first term and in his first year, in his second term, he is focused on three primary goals. The first goal is to have an excellent public school system. The second goal is to provide adequate and excellent public safety for the citizens of Nashville. And the third is job creation for our citizens. In addition, Mayor Dean is a great supporter and reader of history. And we're very delighted that he takes a personal interest in the Historical Commission, and we're very, very grateful for all the things that he does to promote the history of our great city. And I think all of us who are residents of Nashville and Davidson County are appreciative of the service that Mayor Dean gives. Would you join me in welcoming the Honorable Carl F. Dean?
Well, thank you, Bill. Before I get started, I'd like to recognize some present and past elected officials who are with us. First of all, from the current City Council, we have Peter Westerholm and Berkeley Allen. Thank you both for being with us. And we also have former council member Phil Ponder and Jim Forkham, who also serves on the commission. And I want to recognize my good friend and your good friend, the former Vice Mayor George Cate. George, thanks for being here. I want to say thank you to Bill for his outstanding leadership as the chair of Metro's Historic Commission. I think he's been a very strong leader and done an excellent job. And I also want to thank Tim Walker and his staff at the Metro Historical Commission and Zoning Commission for their outstanding and thoughtful work they do each and every day. And finally, I want to acknowledge the Tennessee Preservation Trust, the Tennessee State Museum, Historic Nashville, and Thomas & Associates for their help. I'm really glad to see such a large crowd here today. I really mean it when I say that the nominees for these awards are winners. You are winners for your street, for your neighborhoods, and for all of Nashville. I always say that Nashville's best days are still ahead, and we're growing in all the right ways, and people are taking notice. And the work that each of you have done to preserve and revitalize a part of our city, big or small, is part of Nashville's equation for success. A city does not look like such a great place to live when neighborhoods and homes look neglected or abandoned. A thriving city uses all of its space well and respects character and history. I have distinct memories as a kid. My family used to take a drive, which I used to dread, because that usually meant that you were just driving around with your parents and they were looking at homes and looking at neighborhoods. Part of what made those drives somewhat interesting to me was all the unique characteristics of each home, street, and neighborhood. And that is the type of intangible benefit that we are awarding tonight. It is what makes Nashville more interesting and our neighborhoods more enticing places to live and work. So thank you again for your hard work, and thank you for coming out tonight.
First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Dean for his continued support of preservation in Nashville. He's done an excellent job in terms of helping support, especially the Metro Historical Commission, and we're excited to have him here because I'm really serving in two capacities tonight. I am on the Metro Historical Commission. My name is David Curry, and I'm also the incoming president of the Tennessee Preservation Trust. I'm going to talk about the judging process really quickly and the criteria for selection. This year there were 44 nominations in 4 categories. Residential, those are structures built for residential use only. Commercial buildings, structures built for or adapted to commercial use. Educational and institutional, that includes schools, government buildings, etc. Infill construction, those are new structures located within a context of historic architecture. The nominations covered 11 council districts representing 13 different zip codes. In early May, the judges spent 10 hours visiting the nominated properties. They also reviewed photographs and deliberated on their choices. Their judging criteria was based on architectural merit and/or historical interest, sensitivity to architectural integrity, creativity and adaptation for contemporary use, soundness of condition, adherence to the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation, and interiors excluding residential properties. There were 3 judges this year. First, Amanda Hall, and Amanda will be presenting the residential category. Amanda served as the preservation planner, or serves still as the preservation planner for the city of Franklin, Tennessee since October of 2010. In that capacity, she managed the Franklin Historic Preservation Program, which included several of Franklin's certified local government contact, staffing the Historic Zoning Commission and staffing the Battlefield Preservation Commission. Julia Landstreet. Julia is the executive director of the Nashville Civic Design Center. Julia's role at the center includes oversight of the administrative and development functions for the organization, as well as cultivating relationships within the design, development, education, and civic communities. She edits publications and participates in the identification and development of future programs and projects. And Julia will be presenting the commercial and infill. And finally, Patrick Thomas Weber. Patrick is an associate at Smith G Studio, LLC, a Nashville-based architecture, interior, and urban design firm he helped found in February of 2010. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Architecture from the University of Maryland at College Park. Patrick has volunteered with the American Institute of Architects, the AIA Committee on the Environment, Rebuilding Together Nashville, and has contributed to publications for the Tennessee Region Tomorrow and the Metropolitan Historical Commission. If you'll join me in thanking our judges, we'll have Amanda up to present the first category.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. I would like to take a moment to thank all the nominees here tonight. You've all done a wonderful job and deserve to be here. There were a number of quality nominations presented to the judges to review, and it made our decisions very difficult. In fact, it was so difficult, I kicked the wall out of frustration and broke this foot. As I read the names of the people associated with the honorable mentions and winning projects, please rise and come to the stage. I will describe each project as you come forward. We'll begin with the residential category. Here are the nominees. 3 properties in this category received honorable mentions and 5 received preservation awards. The first honorable mention goes to the Adams House at 2512 Belmont Boulevard. When David and Sarah Adams purchased this Foursquare in February 2011, it contained 4 apartment units. They quickly set about returning the house to a single-family residence, striving to preserve the integrity of the structure while updating the interior with modern amenities. With the help of Quirk Designs and Tradition Homes, they replaced a structurally unsound 1960s rear addition and kept the exterior elements like the foundation, the exterior brick, and window wells all in their original conditions. We know it's often tempting to paint brick, so we were particularly pleased that the home's brick was left intact. Nice work. The next honorable mention goes to 237 54th Avenue North. Since its construction in 1902, this home has seen some modest changes over the years, including a shed addition at the back of the house, repairs to the foundation, and electrical and plumbing updates. Owner Steve and Stephanie Swartz recently worked with McKelvey Architecture and Treetop Builders to design an addition to the south side of the house. We thought the addition nicely complemented the original portion of the house, adding new living space without overwhelming the rest of the home. Great job. The next and final honorable mention for the residential category goes to 3925 Kippalong Drive. Over the years, this 1930s bungalow had fallen into disrepair, so Tony Fresina of Structurecraft enlisted Allied Ward Architecture to assist with the complete interior and exterior rehabilitation of the home. A new family room, screened porch, stair, and master suite have all been added to the rear of the structure, replacing an addition. We thought the new addition is sensitive to the original structure, and the garage is well proportioned for the home and the site. Nice work. And now to the preservation awards. The first preservation award for residential category goes to the Lassiter House at 1220 Steinbach Avenue. This Victorian-era house in Cleveland Park was owned by the Lassiter family from 1920 to 1976. After making its way out of the hands of the family, the home fell into disrepair. In 2007, the property was seized by the Department of Justice in the prosecution of a major criminal case and donated to the Habitat for Humanity. With the help of several businesses and organizations, which located skilled professionals, provided funding, and contributed countless volunteer hours, Habitat's Reconstruct program transformed the deteriorating building into a treasure for the new homeowners. The project, led by Eric Helm, followed the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for renovations for historic properties and used eco-friendly construction materials and appliances to make the home a sustainable, historically conscientious renovation. Projects like this provide great opportunities for volunteers and community members to learn more about historic construction techniques and to participate in hands-on preservation. So we commend Reconstruct for taking this project, this very complex project on, and we can't wait to see what you tackle next. Congratulations. Our next preservation award goes to 1608 South Observatory Drive. Built in the new neighborhood of Green Hills during the 1930s, this Dutch colonial stands uniquely among an assortment of bungalows and colonials along South Observatory Drive. Renovations completed in 2 phases include system upgrades, transformation of the side porch into a dining and sunroom, and enhanced connection to the rear lawn. By reconfiguring some of the interior spaces, Tom and Mary Beth Bauer were able to acquire additional space in the home without expanding the original footprint. We thought the addition of the rear dormers is sensitive to the original house, and we appreciated that the design is a modern interpretation of a Dutch colonial. Great job. Okay, 3 more preservation awards in this category. The next goes to Little House Nashville at 208 Elmington Avenue. A historic garage and servants' quarters built in 1920, the 750-foot Little House Nashville is one of the nation's first LEED for Homes Platinum historic renovations. The USGBC, the Middle Tennessee chapter, also recognized it with its Green Star Award last year. When Jane Hardy and Rod Kuczynski purchased the property in 1992, the detached garage had been vacant for almost 30 years, which had suffered much deterioration from rain. After gutting the interior and stabilizing the structure, they maintained the restored exterior until 2009, when they began the next phase of the project. Jane and Rod worked with Hendricks Design Group, Green Homes, and E3 Innovate to rehabilitate the historic building using the highest level of sustainable design and construction techniques. As part of the project, interior walls were removed, creating a flexible open space, and the building was made handicap accessible. We were impressed by the attention to detail that was paid to this accessory structure, and we commend the owners for actively seeking ways to use the project to educate the public about historic and sustainable design and construction. Congratulations. Okay. Our next award goes to the Bynum Durbin residence at 1704 Sweetbriar Avenue. Gary Bynum and Keith Durbin considered every last detail in renovating their 1915 home, from undoing many of the out-of-character updates completed in the 1970s to restoring light fixtures and windows. They tackled some of the work on their own, but enlisted the assistance of Allard Ward Architects and Hammond and Brandt Builders for design and construction. After completing a major renovation of the home in 2004, they added a screen porch in 2011. We thought the porch addition was a sensitive fit and recognized the hard work involved in returning this home to its historic charm. Nice job. Okay, and our final preservation award for the residential category. 753 Benton Avenue. This frame residence, constructed in 1920, was covered in faux brick asphalt siding for about 45 years. This resulted in severe damage to the original siding. Additionally, years of neglect and termites took their toll on the windows and the framing of the building. Despite multiple requests for demolition, the project team saw the home's potential and remained committed to its preservation. The project team, including Newman Designs and Mason Hope Company, worked to save as many original windows as possible and had the decorative details reproduced as needed. To maintain the home's historic appearance from the curb, pieces of siding from the rear of the home were patched in on the facade where original pieces could not be salvaged. This project defies the assumption that some buildings cannot be saved. And we commend everyone involved in the project for their dedication to this remarkable house. It's truly an inspirational project. Congratulations. And congratulations again to all the nominees for the residential category, all the honorable mentions, and the winners. It's a set of nominations truly worth a broken foot. Thank you. And now, Julia, for the next set of categories.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Amanda. Now for our next commercial. I got to say that. In the commercial category, an honorable mention goes to Corinthian Lodge number 414. This site on Eastland, you have to clap for them, they did a great job. This site on Eastland has been home to Masonic Lodge since at least 1962. When the Corinthian Lodge decided to call it their new home, members worked with MJM Architects to design a neoclassical style building that gave a nod to their lodge name and complemented several neighboring institutions. The plans originally called for complete demolition of the previous building, save the exterior masonry walls. However, the walls were in such bad shape that the footings had to be reinforced with grout fill and reinforced steel. Not a problem for R.C. Matthews Contractor, which executed construction of the design. The exterior was completely veneered with cast stone and detailed with ornate cast stone entablature and cast stone Corinthian-style columns. Their interior details include exposed timbers in the lodge room and sliding barn-style doors. Congratulations to the Corinthian Lodge. We know you will enjoy this grand space for decades to come. A preservation award goes to the Ragland Building, 300 2nd Avenue South. In January 1929, the C.B. Ragland Company began construction of the 300 2nd Avenue building as a 4-story addition to the building now known as 105 Malloy. The building was completed in 1930 and was used until 1995 by the C.B. Ragland Company for its grocery business. For a decade, the building was used as a nightclub by 4 different tenants and then for offices and manufacturing. The building was altered twice in the 1990s, so one of the goals of this project was to undo some of those changes and return the building to an updated version of its original 1930s appearance with the addition of a 5th floor. The team, which included Wick Construction, EMC Structural Engineers, TLC Engineering for Architecture, and Manuel Zeitlin Architects, achieved LEED Gold Core and Shell for this 42,000 square foot project. We thought this was a great example of the sometimes ongoing nature of adaptive reuse. Fabulous work. Now for the infill category. An honorable mention goes to 1117 Douglas Avenue, Peggy Newman of Newman Designs, and Jonathan Jones of Mason Hope Company. Y'all here? They worked together on this infill project, completed in August 2011. The team tried to save the original foundation or a structure on the site, but it crumbled at the beginning of construction. We thought this was a nice example of a historic design, but with a modern edge. Thank you. Nice work. An honorable mention goes to Southview on 2nd. This project first started in 2010 and final phase 3 was completed in February 2012. These 11 residential units were designed in the cottage court style to highlight shared green spaces, protected parking, pedestrian connections, and aid in separating public and private areas of the homes. The project team of Root Arc, Heartlove Enterprises, and FMBC Investments emphasized rhythm, spacing, density, and orientation to 2nd Avenue to reestablish the broken urban fabric and connect it with the surrounding historic context. We thought this was a great example of pedestrian-friendly urban design. We liked the wood detailing, the screens, the balcony treatment, and the use of materials. A preservation award goes to the Greenhouse at 800 Fatherland Street. Completed in January, this new residence was built on a previously developed lot in historic Edgefield. The Frank Lloyd Wright-inspired design features brick construction and a detached garage. It is the first LEED certified home in East Nashville. It has pending LEED Silver and includes a geothermal HVAC system, high-performance windows, Energy Star certification, and foam and cellulose insulation. We thought it was a great example of an infill project that is compatible with its neighbors in massing and scale, but is clearly of its time. We commend the team of Tommy Brown, Heartlove Builders, and Design Resources, and homeowner Kristen Knoll for committing to designing and building a greenhouse. A preservation award goes to the law offices of Dodson, Parker, Boehm, Caprella, PC at 1310 6th Avenue North. This infill project was designed to complement the area's historic charm. Developed as a mixed-use property, but suggesting the traditional structure of Victorian-style home, the house has a garden-level floor with separate entrances and a stately first floor, complete with reclaimed doors to complement Germantown's affinity for unique front doors. Detailing, such as trim and thick exterior walls, mimic older masonry wall construction. As an added touch, the floors from the historic Melrose Bowling Alley, which was demolished in 2005, were incorporated throughout the main level. All 30 lanes of the Melrose were reclaimed and repurposed. We loved the details in this project, from the exterior brickwork to the copper gutters, the downspouts, from the window wells to the second floor terrace. Excellent job. Congratulations, and now Patrick will continue with the next set of awards.
Thank you, Julia. And finally, for the educational and institutional category. Preservation Award goes to the Clover Bottom Mansion, home of the Tennessee Historical Commission. Last year's rehabilitation of Clover Bottom primarily involved exterior carpentry and millwork. Unfortunately, years of neglect and weather exposure had resulted in significant deterioration of most of the exterior wood elements. This required complete dismantling of the handrails, porches, and siding, as well as detailed restoration of woodwork and trim elements. Grau General Contracting and PBG Builders tried to salvage and reuse as many elements as possible. Those that were beyond reuse were replaced with new elements fabricated from salvaged, vintage material of like size and species, such as red cedar. We commend the state of Tennessee for its commitment to maintaining its historical properties, like this one, a fitting home for the Historical Commission. The final product is truly fantastic, thanks to the careful attention to detail from all involved. Congratulations. The next preservation award goes to the Indian Springs Historic WPA Picnic Shelters in Percy Warner Park. The Warner Parks were established in 1927. Much of the early development of the parks was accomplished by the WPA between 1936 and 1941, including these rustic picnic shelters. Their design includes limestone masonry walls, piers and chimneys, and rustic red cedar support posts, rafters, and decorative fretwork. Much needed rehabilitation was completed earlier this year and was guided by measure drawings and historic photographs. Wick Construction worked to save and reuse as much of the original materials as possible. Concrete slabs were repaired or poured, and masonry repairs were made to the walls, piers, and chimneys. Eastern red cedar materials were used to frame up the structural and decorative components of the buildings. We thought this was a fantastic project and commend the project team's attention to historical accuracy. This rustic picnic shelter is among the most significant assets of Metro Parks and have been enjoyed by generations of park visitors. Now they'll be around for more generations to enjoy, thanks to the Friends of Warner Parks and Metro government. Next preservation award goes to the John Wesley Workhouse at Fisk University. The John Wesley Workhouse was built in the late 1880s at the corner of the Fisk University campus. It became the residence of John Wesley Work III in 1937. Work directed the Fisk Jubilee Singers and served as a teacher and composer at Fisk University for 39 years. Historic photographs and paint samples guided the rehabilitation, which involved detailed restoration of all of the original exterior wood elements, such as the siding and porches, as well as repairs to the windows and doors, including the art glass panes on the front entry. Repairs were also made to the stone and brick masonry foundation and chimneys. In the interior, the original plaster walls were restored and repairs were made to the heart pine wood floors and 3 coal-burning fireplaces. We commend Fisk University for continuing to work with the National Park Service to preserve its diverse historical properties, and we are impressed with the care and sensitivity paid to this project. What a remarkable transformation. Congratulations. So this year, all of the educational institutional nominees were exceptional, and they provided a pretty good variety of preservation work that's going on right now in the county. So, last but not least, we also present the last preservation award to the Margaret Cunningham Women's Center at Vanderbilt University. Constructed in 1886 as one of 6 dormitories called West Side Row, the Franklin Building contains 8 rooms, 4 on each floor, with each room sharing central fireplace. Part of the challenge of this project involved preserving the massive central chimney and working around the 14-inch thick interior and exterior brick masonry walls to accommodate new program needs. Vanderbilt's project team, which included Bauer Askew Architecture and Wick Construction, met the challenge by creating a circular gallery around the central volume of masonry on each floor and placing offices around the perimeter. To provide enclosed accessibility to the second floor, a stair and elevator tower were added. We liked the details of this addition, including the brickwork, limestone, reuse of the iron support brackets, and the interior shutters. We also liked how the addition is separated from the original structure by a glass connector, keeping the addition subordinate to the original structure despite its size. Congratulations to all of the award nominees, and thank you to all of the award winners, and thank you again to all of the nominees. Now I'd like to introduce Commissioner Linda Wynn, who will present the first of 2 special awards.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to present the Commissioner's Award to the Downtown Presbyterian Church. The Presbyterian Church has maintained a presence on the corner of 5th Avenue North and Church Street since erecting its first building at that site in 1816. After losing 2 buildings to fire, the church dedicated the 3rd and present building on April the 20th, 1851. Designed by William Strickland, the architect of the Tennessee State Capitol, the church is renowned for its renowned example of Egyptian revival architecture in America. And its spectacular interior is a must-see for visitors and Nashvillians alike. The Secretary of the Interior designated the old First Presbyterian Church a National Historic Landmark on April the 19th, 1993. When a large portion of First Presbyterian Church's congregation relocated to suburban Oak Hill in the 1950s, some members elected to continue worshiping at the historic site. The Downtown Presbyterian Church organized in June 1955, and for over 60 years, the congregation has fought to preserve the integrity of its extraordinary building, as well as Nashville's downtown community. Throughout their tenures, both congregations have been excellent stewards of the historic church building. They have approached each restoration, renovation, and rehabilitation project with the building's best interest at heart. The church is also a great advocate for historic preservation in downtown Nashville, thriving to maintain the neighborhood's sense of place by opening up the building for community meetings, providing studio and exhibit space for local artists, and hosting the beloved annual Waffle Shop, among other activities. Additionally, the Downtown Presbyterian Church has been a great friend to the Historical Commission over the years. The church hosted the 8th Annual Architectural Awards program in May of 1980 and has welcomed the program back several additional times. In recent years, the sanctuary has hosted the sessions of the Tennessee Preservation Trust Statewide Preservation Conference and the National Preservation Conference, as well as programs for the Metropolitan Historical Commission's Civil War Sesquicentennial commemoration. Pastor Lark is accepting the award.
I was so involved by all the slides. I was having a great time. Thank you, sir.
And now Commissioner Hubler will present the Achievement Award, which is given to an individual for his or her commitment to preservation.
It's a real honor to be here today to give this particular award because I've known the recipient for so very long. I think I first met her back when she first came to work at the Metro Historical Commission, so we go back a long way. There are other people here in the audience who also go back a long way with her. I saw Rex Garnton, he's here, and John Compton, I'm sure, is here in spirit. David Payne, there are so many old friends of yours who are here to wish you well, Ann. Ann Roberts is synonymous with Nashville preservation. Coming to Nashville with her young family, Ann Reynolds found what she thought would be a temporary position in research and writing with the newly established staff of the Metropolitan Historical Commission, where she worked with Maydeen Eberling beginning in 1976. Her early duties were varied from events such as home tours and architectural awards to writing brochures and National Register nominations. Upon Maydeen Eberling's retirement in 1982, Ann became executive director of the Metropolitan Historical Commission. As executive director, she served as chair of the Union Station Oversight Committee, implemented both landmark zoning and conservation zoning in historic neighborhoods, and successfully fought against the development of a 21-story building to be located in the middle of 2nd Avenue. Ann received Historic Nashville's Outstanding Individual Achievement Award in 1991 and has continued to fight to preserve Nashville's historic places for more than 20 years, and successfully worked with other Metro departments to put to use their historic buildings, including Metro Nashville's public schools, the fire department, library, and Metro parks. Under Ann's oversight, the Nashville City Cemetery received much-needed attention, beginning with a cleanup day in 1995 to its first and wildly successful Living History Tour in 1999, and culminating with a master plan and an ongoing restoration work. Ann's leadership was instrumental in saving Nashville landmarks as diverse as the Customs House, 2nd Avenue, Broadway, the Metro Courthouse, the Parthenon, Ryman Auditorium, Fort Negley, Sunnyside, and the Shelby Street Bridge. After a tornado ripped through East Nashville in 1998, Ann helped lead the charge to recovery and with the Regional Urban Design Assistance Team and Rediscover East. Ann was also on the original planning committee for the Nashville Conference on African American History and Culture, an annual event co-sponsored by the Metropolitan Nashville Historical Commission and Tennessee State University, which recently celebrated its 32nd anniversary. Ann participated in both the establishment of the Nashville Civic Design Center and its landmark publication, The Plan of Nashville, published in 2005. Since her retirement in 2008, Ann has continued her active involvement in Nashville's historic preservation movement through her work on the boards of the District and Tennessee Preservation Trust. Ann led Nashville's hosting of the National Preservation Conference in 2009, for which she served as co-chair and gave the opening remarks to a packed house in Christ Church Cathedral. She is an elder at Second Presbyterian Church in Nashville. Ann has 2 children, 2 stepchildren, and 7 granddaughters. Ann, we love you. Come on up here.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Dean, thank you for being here. Thank you to the commission. Thank you to so many friends. It was so much fun to stand at the bottom of the steps and see people come down. I will mention one former council member that Mayor Dean did not mention, and that's Betty Nixon, who is also here somewhere. And we were talking about going so far back. You know, Betty was one of the dearest friends to preservation in those very early days. And also, I want to say congratulations to the nominees and the award winners. As always, we wonder if we're going to have any nominations. I'm still saying we, but will there be nominations this year? And there always are. I think all of you should be so proud because you've done so much for Nashville. I really lucked into a career in preservation. I happened to call the Metropolitan Historical Commission office one day in the spring of 1976. And talked to Maydeen Eberling, whom I had met while doing some volunteer work the previous summer. I said, I'm interested in a job. And she said, I'm writing a job description. And she read it to me and said, does that sound like something you'd be interested in? And as Jim said, it was doing some writing in public events and publications, publicity, and I started that summer. Little did I know that I was going to be, for nearly 33 years, at a very good place at a very good time. At that time, there was a blooming recognition that preservation was not just saving major landmarks, that preservation was a strategy for and a component of neighborhood redevelopment, good urban design, economic development, healthy environmental practice, energy conservation. We were so lucky at that time that there was a lot of momentum. The Union Station and Ryman, of course, had been some, were sort of, were the preservation battles. But Mayor Fulton was really interested in downtown and in making our downtown the true heart of the city. And there was real concern about what were the neighborhoods right around downtown like. Downtown could have been surrounded by slums, but there were a number of planets that just aligned. The Historical Commission was working with MDHA and the mayor. Carol Williams is here, and I just have to mention that one of the first things that I worked on at the Historical Commission was the very first neighborhood tour. There had been some church tours, but we had a neighborhood tour, and there were 2 houses open, including the Williams House, and several churches. That was on a December day, and people came and stood in the rain to go in and see the Williams House and the Hamilton's house. And that was sort of the beginning. There were, at that time, people literally would be born, grow up, and die in West Nashville and never cross the river. And all of a sudden, here was this wealth of incredible housing resources just across the river. And now when you go over there and see how many people have bought into that and have been part of making those the many neighborhoods of East Nashville so livable. And then look at North Nashville, look at what's happening in South Nashville. It's really so incredibly exciting. And when Mayor Dean says that the best days are yet to come, I believe that too, that's going to still be what's happening as we reclaim more and more of these older neighborhoods. The work of the commission evolved along with the national preservation movement. Some of you probably remember the drugstore battles and how do we get people interested in saving schools. We were doing those very same things that were happening nationally. I was not a trained preservationist. I was an English major. And so I learned from everyone. So many people who are here were my teachers. And certainly the staff, we've been blessed at the Historical Commission with incredibly gifted staff people. I want to say thank you to all of them and to many of those who have moved on to other things, but we could still consider them missionaries because they are still preservation friends. All along, we've had support of mayors and of council members who have allowed us to who have adopted for the city 22 zoning districts and some 36 landmarks. And I should mention that so many of those landmarks are city properties. So Metro government has been a tremendous leader in preservation. Also, the other government agencies, I was thinking about MDHA, and I can't say that we always agreed on everything, but I think we learned to work together and to collaborate. Also with the Planning Commission, Parks, which owns so many historic properties, and always works with the Historical Commission and the Historic Zoning Commission on fixing those buildings, rehabbing those buildings, maintaining them. So so I see in Nashville such a strong government presence, but also, thank goodness, the grassroots presence as well, and that includes the design community. You saw so many people here who are architects and landscape architects and planners who really get preservation. I would close with just one thing, one sort of call for your continued involvement. The work of preservation is never done. As one of my preservation heroes says about preservation, we lose historic places one reasonable decision at a time. And so I urge you to be vigilant, to continue electing officials who are supportive, and to continue supporting the work of preservation. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Ann. We're happy for you. Before we ask Ernie Bacon, the Vice Chair of the Tennessee Preservation Trust, to come up to the stage, I want to again thank Ms. Lois Ezell-Riggins. I think she's arrived. Lois, will you stand up? They've been wonderful to make this wonderful space available to us. It's really great space. We didn't know how it would work out, but it's really, really great. And I wanted to remind you, they've opened, thanks to the State Museum staff, they've opened the two exhibits behind you, the War of 1812 and the John Mellencamp exhibit. So stay for the reception and please look at the exhibits. They really are great. We'll recognize Mr. Ernie Bacon. Thanks, Tim.
Welcome to the statewide Preservation Conference. It's my pleasure to serve as treasurer for the Tennessee Preservation Trust, and by the way, this is the 50th anniversary of the first conference that was held in 1962. Tennessee Preservation Trust is certainly honored to be part of the Metro Historical Commission award ceremony and to have Nashville Mayor Carl Dean, an advocate for the importance of preservation, here at the opening of our conference. And I'll add a personal note. It's a real thrill to be with Ann and her recognition. The Metro Commission has been a beacon for many, many similar preservation organizations throughout the state. And it sort of provides a benchmark for all of us. Earlier today, at the annual membership meeting of the TPT, new board members were elected. Those individuals are State Representative Steve McDaniel, who currently serves as Deputy Speaker of the House, Andy Ponce, Director of Economic and Community Development for the City of Germantown, Pamela Lewis of Franklin and of Nashville, President and CEO of the PLA Media, Dr. Michael Birdwell, Professor of History at Tennessee Tech, Dr. Heather Bailey of the East Tennessee Development District, Bob Natestein, attorney in Nashville and Professor of Law, and Sarah Preston of Leapers Fork, marketing consultant who most recently worked to reopen the Franklin Theater. At this time, I'd like for those individuals to stand and be recognized, as well as all other members of the board of TPT. Please stand or wave. Great. Over the past year, TPT has gone through many positive changes, and we hope that this year our supporters will continue to assist in transitioning TPT into an even more valuable partner as the only statewide voice for preservation in Tennessee. We're certainly proud of our accomplishments since we met in Colliersville last April. Our new book, Historic Tennessee, has been distributed to dozens, scores actually, of schools and libraries across the state. It is our expectation that this iconic publication will be a valuable tool for teaching about Tennessee's historic resources for years to come. And I might point out, we do have some on display, and if we run out of books here tonight, we do have a sign-up sheet, and we'll make sure that we'll get your copy of Historic Tennessee. TPT has also completed the restoration of our second Rosenwald School, this time at Durham's Chapel in Sumner County. Our partnership with the National Trust and the Center for Historic Preservation at MTSU, along with hundreds of hours on the job by restoration specialists, have made the success of that project possible. In the coming months, we'll launch our new website. This site will promote our mission of advocacy and education while being a resource for all things preservation in Tennessee. Our historic past is what makes Tennessee a special place, a place unlike any other. The work at TPT is only made possible by the support of our members and our partners, some of which and many of which are here tonight. We hope that you'll continue to help us make a difference. Remember, history matters. As all of you know, once our historic resources are lost, they can never be reclaimed. Sometimes they give us guidance. Sometimes they give us purpose. But they always tell us a story about who we were and who we are as Tennesseans. With that being said, I'll officially open this year's conference. As you already know, the program is full of opportunities. The program committee has an array of 27 speakers over the next 2 days. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that and engage with each other on the issues concerning preservation. I have one housekeeping announcement. Along with at our headquarters at the Indigo Hotel, and in the wing, which I call the Starbucks wing or tower on the 4th floor, we are having a silent auction that is open tonight between 7:30 and 9:30, and Friday 9:30 to 3. The winning bids will be notified at the last session of the day tomorrow or by cell phone. So when you put a bid in, let us have your cell phone, make sure we can contact you. I want to give credit to Kathy Fuston, who's made this auction possible. And there is a featured item which we would invite everyone to drop by and take a look at and perhaps bid on. Master craftsman Randall Grace, who has his workshop on 17th Avenue, has handcrafted and made available to us a beautiful table from wood from the old LNN shed that was demolished in 2001. So take a look at these items and we appreciate your participation. In closing, it's my privilege to introduce Patrick McIntyre, Executive Director of the Tennessee Historical Commission. The Commission is a major sponsor for this conference and a leading voice for preservation in our state. A true friend. Patrick?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Ernie, and it is just terrific to be here with everybody. I was told to keep this to 5 minutes, so if I start sounding like an auctioneer, you'll know why, but we have a great reception to get to, and so we're going to get to it right away. But I'm charged with giving the state of preservation in Tennessee at this time, which is a lofty title, but I want to jump into this by saying again, as Ernie reiterated, 2012 marks the 50th anniversary of what we know today as the Statewide Preservation Conference. Back in 1962, the Tennessee Historical Commission paired with the Association for the Preservation of Tennessee Antiquities, and the first conference took place in Suwanee, of all places. Held annually in communities across the state, the conference returns this year to Nashville for the first time since 2004. In addition to planning support, the Tennessee Historical Commission provides annually $15,000 in sponsor support to this conference. This is a key component of our ongoing work to help educate Tennesseans about best practices with regard to historic preservation. And the Tennessee Preservation Trust does an excellent job producing this event. It is just one of many ways that TPT is a close partner of the Commission. I want to thank everybody who has spent many long hours developing a first-rate program for this year, as well as for our presenters who've come from near and far. I know Eric Hine is here, the president of Preservation Action in Washington, D.C. Others I could go on and on, but you'll see them over the course of the weekend. I also want to say how much I appreciate being a part of this afternoon's program honoring Ann Roberts. I've known Ann for longer than I've lived in Nashville, and she has contributed so much to historic preservation efforts during her career, which continues, and she continues to give so much. Thank you so much, Ann. There's much exciting news from the Tennessee Historical Commission in the past year to share with you, but time demands that I hit only a few highlights. I'll start with staff transitions. Last June, longtime Assistant Director for Federal Programs and Deputy Chippo, Dick Toon, retired. Dick's strong leadership skills are sometimes masked by his understated style, but as everybody who's worked with him knows, he's a man of great ability who believes strongly in the work of the Commission and has been critical in countless ways in the successes of the office over the years. Fortunately, since his retirement, Dick has returned part-time on contract to help administer the federal preservation grants. Dick's retirement allowed an opportunity for promotion. In November, one of our most dedicated and talented professionals, Claudette Steger, became Assistant Director for Federal Programs, and she's now serving also as Deputy SHPO. Claudette, are you here? She's here waving in the back. Okay, great. I'd also like to recognize our outstanding Assistant Director for State Programs, Linda Wynn, Commissioner Wynn, whom you've already met, and thank you very much. She does an outstanding job as well. I'm also excited to share some exciting staff additions in the past year. In October, former Tennessee Preservation Trust Director Dan Brown returned from New Orleans to be the Certified Local Government Coordinator. In just over 6 months, Dan has literally redefined the position, bringing great passion, dedication, and expertise to working with CLGs across the state. Dan, are you in here right now? Everybody goes in the back. I think they have it figured out. Just last week, Sullivan County became the 32nd certified local government in Tennessee, and I'm sure more will be enrolled soon. Our National Register program has been energized by the hiring of 2 accomplished professionals to administer the program in the past few months, Jamie DeStefano and Peggy Nickel. Jamie, who started in October, has a master's in historic preservation from the Clemson College of Charleston program and worked as an architectural historian at a consulting firm prior to coming to the Commission. Her diverse experience includes helping excavate the Confederate H.L. Hunley submarine and completing a large-scale architectural survey in Jamaica. So, Jamie, are you with us? Nobody stands up, they just wave. So, Peggy joined the team in February. She's an MTSU alumna who has a strong background working with cultural resource consulting firms and extensive survey experience both here in Tennessee and in other states. She also served as director of the Hotel Holbrook State Historic Site. Speaking of our sites, last fall, long-awaited state-of-the-art new museum exhibits debuted at 3 of our sites in Northeast Tennessee: Rocky Mount and Piney Flats, Tipton Haynes in Johnson City, and the Chester Inn in Jonesboro. In the case of Rocky Mount, the exhibits had not been updated since the 1960s, while the exhibits at Tipton Haynes and Chester Inn are entirely new. The Chester Inn Museum recently received an award from the East Tennessee Historical Society. Besides no reductions to our funding, the best news from this year's budget process, thanks to the Governor and the Tennessee General Assembly, was an allocation of $2.3 million in capital funding projects for 3 of our sites. The amount includes funding for our 2 newest properties that have been mothballed since their acquisition. Sabine Hill in Elizabethton, a circa 1815 federal period landmark, was nearly razed for an apartment complex before the Commission purchased it in 2007. It received $1.1 million for its restoration. Once it was listed in the 10 in Tennessee list as one of the state's most endangered historic places, and it will become a unit of Sycamore Shoals State Historic Park. $900,000 in funding will go to restore Hawthorne Hill in Castellian Springs in Sumner County, the circa 1800 birthplace of Governor William Bate. The opening of Hawthorne Hill to the public will add another important resource to this area known as the Cradle of Tennessee History, where there are 3 other state-owned historic and archaeological sites. Also in Castellian Springs, I'm pleased to report that Wynwood, our National Historic Landmark site, severely damaged by the tornado in 2008, will reopen on July 4th, better than ever, with restored outbuildings and spaces that have never been open to the public. Finally, $300,000 in this year's capital budget will go to replace aging shake roofs at Rocky Mount. We have Martha Akins, our State Historic Sites Director here, and she can wave. And also I know Jerry Wooten, our former State Historic Sites Director, is here, who had a hand in many of these things as well. Earlier this month, we announced over $600,000 in funding assistance with this year's federal historic preservation grants. Among the projects funded is $45,000 for the next phase of the restoration of the Alvin York Institute in Jamestown, $25,000 for structural repairs to the Temperance Building in Harriman, and $18,000 for a survey of Brownsville. A $15,000 grant will update the historic guidelines in Clarksville, while $10,000 will go to survey and update the National Register nomination for the Blunt Hill Historic District to include those areas associated with the Civil War battle. We also continue our partnership with Tennessee History for Kids to produce a poster for Preservation Month, which I think everybody has. If you don't have it, run by the registration table. And we also continue to provide funding for our preservation planners in 7 of the 9 development districts across the state. Many of them are here today, and I'm not going to ask them to stand. Last year during the conference, we initiated the update of the State Preservation Plan. Over 250 of you responded to the online survey, which I say thank you for. And next week, the draft will be on our website at tnhistoricalcommission.org. Please take a look at that and provide your comments to us. So as I said, just the highlights, but I probably still ran over my allotted time. In closing, on behalf of the Tennessee State Museum, Tennessee Preservation Trust, Historic Nashville Incorporated, Thomason Associates, and PLA Media, everyone is invited to the reception to view the War of 1812 and John Mellencamp exhibits. Thank you so much. I have one more bit of housekeeping. I think the seats are going to be, some of the seats are going to be taken back to allow us to move around the room. The elevators, very important, are this way. And also, I've already been to the John Mellencamp exhibit, and I can tell you that there is no painting of a cougar or of a little Jack and Diane, but it's still really great. So thank you very much, everybody, and welcome to the conference.